Hey everybody. So just a quick astrological check-in with you all. Yeah, I just want to basically say if you are feeling crappy, if you feel like everyone around you is acting crappy, if you feel off, if you feel like, I don't know, just the energy is off and that it's kind of been that way for a bit, then you are in tune with the universe, at least our little corner of it over here in our solar system. Because astrologically, this is kind of a weird time, kind of an off time. Not necessarily a disastrous, horrible time. Maybe yeah, we're all of us having like some disappointments and heartbreaks, which I'll get to. But it's yeah, there is a thing going on that has been going on since March 2023. And actually, March 2023 to March 2025 shouldn't have been too bad. What's happening, which really came to light July 16th or 17th. I tried to make a video of it that night, so I could have it there and like just clue everybody in on it for the next day. But I just totally bombed it. I was so tired and ended up going on all these tangents because what's happening has to do with Saturn and Neptune, and for some reason I could not stop talking about Pluto. That out. But yeah, I couldn't stop talking about Pluto and just outer planets in general. Because Saturn and Neptune, as you know, they're part of the outer planets, right? So just quick segue into that. There's the inner personal planets, so that's the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus. These are personal planets. They transit so quickly, they move so fast that that you don't have the same you don't have those planets in the same signs with a lot of other people, right? Of course, you'll share planetary signs with other people, right? Say twins, they have all the same signs. And okay, quick other segue actually into that. This is like part 1AB, or no, part 1A little I. People can have the same sort of cosmic signatures. These are not destiny markers. They just are energy markers, right? They just tell you the sort of energy that is happening in the universe at the time that that person was born and really all throughout our lives, right? But everybody will deal with it differently. It's like if you go to a party, a dance party, everybody's listening to the same music, but they'll all dance differently. Maybe some people will dance the same, and usually there is a kind of rhythm that people will follow. So that's why you can kind of like see patterns and generalities among people. Um, that has a lot to do with, well, really all of the signs and all of the planets. And the whole it's like the whole philosophy of astrology. I mean, I may as well say it now because this is a new channel, and every opportunity that I do get, I may as well just open up and let you know my philosophy on things, which is that we live in an interconnected universe. So that's why astrology works, not because the planets and the constellations that they point to are anything special, but just because everything is so interconnected that you can read the energy from anything and have a really and use it as a sort of compass of all the energy and all of what is around because we're all connected to everything. So that's how astrology works. That's why people can have and will have the same sort of planetary and constellation markers as other people, but be a little bit different. But there'll be patterns because they'll be listening to, say, the same sort of rhythm and, responding to it in kind of the same way, right? All the people at that party, they'll all be human, right? So they'll all be bipedal organisms that, with limbs and just kind of responding and hearing music if they can, or feeling it if they don't hear. And so there'll be similarities in how they respond, but there'll also for sure be differences. It's all about just the interconnectedness of the universe. That said, there's the inner planets, the ones that are closer to the sun, just like we are. Earth is close to the sun. We're part of the tight knit group. We are the clique. Earth, Mars, Venus, the moon. We count it because it's um it's important to us. Like from our perspective, it is like larger than planetary size. It's such a luminary. Those inner planets, like I said, they move so fast that they tend to really have very individual sort of markers. So, meaning that the music that one person will be hearing from Mars on one day will be different very shortly after, like a few weeks, a few months, than what Mars will be for people later. And so, because of that, they tend to um, show personality traits that will be different for a person compared to other members of their generation. And that is also a key part. Those outer planets are generational planets, and they are what make the inner planets personal, right? So the outer planets, they move slowly. And so, because of that, they represent change on large, grand scales. And as that change is happening so slowly, all the people who are affected by those big, slow moving transits within them, so they'll, belong to say a certain generation. This is what happened to me when I tried to make that other video really quickly. So within that say generation, like for me, as a millennial, I am one of those people who have Pluto in Scorpio, and we grew up with Pluto in Scorpio. So we're very emotional, right? Everybody knows that about millennials. We're very emotional. Um, there was kind of a liberation of sexuality among our generation. Um, I was once reading an article that said millennials did a good job of, opening up the world to the queer movement, but they didn't do a good job on interracial relationships. Um, that was maybe the next thing that would have to come. I could see how Pluto and Scorpio, because Pluto is kind of a liberator in a way. Even though the story of Pluto is one of kidnapping, it's being taken out of your comfort zone, like what happens to Persephone. And I'll put a link to the Persephone Pluto story, Persephone Hades story. Being taken out of your comfort zone is ultimately a kind of liberation, and that's what Pluto does. Takes you out, kind of destroys things, and um, and in doing so liberates you and allows you to transform. And then that being in Scorpio, which I think a lot of us associate Scorpio with sexuality, just because it's that deep dark water, those deep dark emotional things. What else is that except sex, right? So that was being liberated by the Pluto and Scorpio generation, and what came out of it is just um, you know be who you are. Total comfort with any sort of sexuality. Race, on the other hand, those are not deep dark waters. I would say, well, I don't know. And this will just be personal interpretation, but the issues that our societies have with race, um, these are mental constructs. They more so, I feel, than they are the deep gut emotional aspect of Scorpio. Because in our deep dark gut, we know we're all human, obviously, right? So that was something for the next generation. For the Pluto and Sagittarius generation, which they have done well. The kind of younger millennials, the generation that came after millennials, dealing with the liberation of fire. So, anyways, so yeah, Pluto always gets me off on a tangent. But to go back to what is happening right now with some of the other outer planets, well, with the two outer planets that are really, I think, playing a big role in why everybody is feeling a little bit off and maybe in March 2023, it wasn't too bad, but it was strange, is Saturn and Neptune. So Pluto, like I said, is transforms you, pulls you out of your comfort zone, maybe just totally straight up kidnaps you and thrusts you into like an unknown environment, and you have to adapt and be resilient. And the outcome is that uh, you become something new, you transform, you acquire a whole new other identity, the way Persephone becomes the queen of hell as well as like an earth princess. Saturn and Neptune, so these are the two planets that are in play right now, these also outer planets. And again, outer planets are those ones that move so slowly that um, whole generations of people will all be born with that influence on them, right? And again, it's just influence. It's just the music that everybody's hearing. It's not telling you how to dance. It's maybe giving you some like choreographic ideas, and people will tend to follow each other. And then some people won't as well. They'll dance to their own drummer, but it's just the music that we're all hearing. It's the influence. So Saturn's type of influence as one of those outer planets, also very slow moving, also a generational planet, is the structure of things. The type of structure that cannot be ignored or avoided, right? Like the type of structure that says if you don't have some sort of schedule and go to work, then you're not going to have an income, right? Unless, of course, you are born rich, or unless, of course, you decide to have a certain type of lifestyle that some people do decide to have as unemployed people. And, unfortunately, perhaps even unhoused. Either way, that will be the structure of their lives because Saturn um, dictates it. And it will relate to the Saturn and how their inner planets, which will kind of describe more their personality, responds to the Saturn, responds to the generation that they were born along with. So Saturn is the structure. It's the skeleton. Um, it's the yeah, just like the hard frame of a building. It doesn't tell you what will come next, like perhaps say the beauty of it, once the drywall is on and the interior decorators have come in, but it does tell you the actual structure of things and what it will look like in terms of absolute form. So we have that Saturn. And since March 2023, Saturn and Neptune have been doing this kind of cycle, this kind of dance. And it's weird because they are opposites. Well, Saturn is like this definitive structure, right? That is that just tells us the solid form. There's no way around it. If you have the four poles, you're going to have, say, a rectangular house. Whereas Neptune, the planet Neptune is named. That's the Roman name for the Greek god Poseidon, the god of the ocean, and it's well named. Some planets aren't well named, which I'm not going to get into a segue on Uranus. I just won't. But Neptune is well named. It's the oceanic, unconscious layer, right, of reality, right? Just the way that the deep, dark ocean is kind of the Earth's unconscious. I mean, I'm sure she's fully aware of it, the incredible activity that's going on down there. I saw a headline recently that octopuses, and it is octopuses, it is not octopi, ask John Oliver, are building and civilizations down there. I didn't have time. I was like, I didn't have time for the clickbait, but I can see it. I'll believe anything is happening under the ocean. But regardless of what is maybe really happening, symbolically, the deep dark ocean of the collective unconscious, which is just so much like the Earth's planetary ocean, is represented by Neptune. And what's interesting about that is that even though it's mysterious and and dark, those endless waters that we have no idea, we have explored less than the moon, right? That I gotta fact check that, but I've heard that, I believe it, because it's a more challenging environment than space, than just kind of the sort of the flightless, gravityless realm of Aquarius and Pisces. A lot easier to deal with than the deep, heavy um, pressures of Neptune, and the darkness of it. It's shielded from the sun by those layers of water, those layers of emotion and thought, but emotion thought, right? That's what water is. It's not like air, which is, those mental thoughts that just they flutter, they go different ways. Maybe if you are practiced at it or just born with the ability, you can turn that airy energy into sharp zingers. Some people can do that. It's If you have that skill, it can be helpful, um, especially if you are a combative person. But no, water is the emotional thoughtscape that is maybe even in some ways really actually beyond thought. It's ineffable. It's hard to even describe. It's the realm before thought. And it's where, like, this is what Neptune represents. I'm saying it's where thought does come from, just like how on Earth life came out of the ocean, right? Like animal life, and the ocean is what makes it possible. Those waters is what makes life possible, and all of the very structured things that we see. So we have Neptune, which is just the unexplored, perhaps unexplorable in our lifetime. I feel like it would have to be a serious commitment by some government or some institution for us to really explore the oceans um, the way that would be necessary to know what's going on there. But at the same time, perhaps some organizations are, and just keeping it a secret, which would really fit with the whole Neptune archetype. So we have that archetype um, in conjunction with Saturn, and that's been happening since March 2023. So think about it: extreme definitive structure and the sort of nebulous, dark, um, all unexplorable world of Neptune. These two influences are working together, right? And on this one Facebook page I saw the other day, the one that I wanted to put a video out on July 16th or 17th, those two planets were also aligned with the moon, which brought a level of personalization to it, and that I think but that made it interesting, and I wanted to talk about it then. But it was just kind of a mentally chaotic time for me. Not surprising because it was Saturn and Neptune, which is just a crazy mixture. You know, structure being conjunct the ineffable, unconscious, unexplorable mystery of the liminal world. Those two things all mixing together. People call it different things. One of my favorite astrologers, I'm gonna just look over at her page here. Yeah, she calls herself Lady Kazemi. She's calling this period reality undefined. And this period, by the way, is March 2023 to to May 2020. Oh no, to April 2028. So it's a 5 year period with Saturn and Neptune um, being in this weird sort of relationship. And it's just playing out differently for everybody. Like, is your structure just kind of dissolving into, say, delusion and illusion and just chaotic uncertainty? Or is your tendency to be a daydreamy person, maybe perhaps an escapist, is it running up against the absolute need for structure, right? Like where, say, even if you don't want to, uh, you know, have a job, pay bills, have a place to live, blah blah blah. Instead, your structure is going to be waking up in the morning in your tent on the side of the city, and scrounging for some berries and nuts. Either way, you are going to be finding out, if you're more, say, a Neptunian person, that structure is unavoidable, and if you're more a Saturnian person, that there is kind of this strange mystery undergirding literally the universe and consciousness, right? The same way the ocean is the underworld of the Earth. So these two planets working together, it gives us this strange effect. Now, in March 2023 to March 2025, so that was this spring, it wasn't too bad because they were both in Pisces. So what was happening is, Pisces is just so, like, has that lofty spirituality to it. It's Aquarius is like the highest form of spirituality from a human perspective. So Aquarius is like that link to like the cosmic realms, whereas Pisces is the link to more human, the human side of spirituality. So the human gods, the gods that we make as humans, and we know that we're doing that because they look like humans. That's Pisces. Um, so yeah, so it was in Pisces, so everything, there's just kind of a peacefulness to it, and Pisces, even though it is very spiritual, it's also very human. So it fits well with Saturn as well as with Neptune, and so there was a harmony to it, even though there was, kind of like I was feeling then, um, and have been, for the past couple of years, just a new sort of um, like spiritual loss is the wrong word because it's more immersive than that, but yeah, just like feeling more immersed in spirituality, even in areas of my life where uh, that had a lot of structure. So things like having talks about spirituality in academia, which surprised me. Talking about psychic phenomenon with people who I would never have expected it, and everybody just being kind of interested in it. Something that didn't really happen, by the way, in the 90s, which as an older millennial I grew up in, nobody really cared. We were definitely deep in our feelings, and so spirituality helped us out of that. If we were having a crisis, yeah, everyone was going to church or going to see a psychic. But other than that, people just really kind of cared about how they were feeling. Um, yeah, it was just a lot of feelings. Um, but yeah, so that was March 2023 to March 2025, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Um, then in this year, because today's date is July 21st, 2025, so March of this year until May, Saturn stayed in Pisces, which was kind of weird, but not too weird. And then Neptune was in Aries. Um, Kind of weird also, but not too weird. But yeah. So what is happening there? Like, Neptune in Aries is has this weird sort of, well, no, it's not weird. It just Aries is the fighter, the go-getter. It has a lot of drive. Um, it it's the get up and go, right? And for that to be in in that oceanic, sort of mysterious place of, the deep, dark, collective unconscious, not that weird. I mean, I have, like, my Neptune and Mars are conjunct, so I personally have a similar sort of energy signature as that my get up and go is related to. just the mysterious, ineffable, unconscious escapism. But I do have a get up and go there. And then Saturn, so that was happening. Just people were maybe feeling motivated um, on this, on spiritual levels that they might not have experienced before or in a while. At the same time, that the whole structure um, of their lives, of the world around them, was becoming deeply spiritual, but deeply humanly spiritual, Pisces. Then in May 2025, um, up to September, so this is what we're going to be experiencing for the next little bit. Saturn and Neptune are once again together, right? Excuse me. So they're together again. They're conjunct. They're both in Aries. Pisces and Aries, by the way, those two constellations are side by side. During this 5-year period, Saturn and Neptune won't ever be too far away from each other, and they're mostly going to be conjunct um, from here on out. They're going to be working together. This one Facebook site that I really like is calling it that they'll be dancing together, and I was like, I don't know if that's the analogy I would use because I don't really see Saturn as a dancer. I see them having maybe some reconciliation talks. Maybe Saturn is giving Neptune an intervention, and Neptune is giving Saturn an awakening. He's like letting him know, opening his mind. Either way, they are working together. This began in May and will continue until September. They're working together in Aries. So they're both very driven, very motivated, but they're motivated for different things. So we're all feeling motivated to like have a lot of structure, to have the definitive things that we want in our lives to be locked down. But at the same time, none of us can help the fact that just that oceanic, unconscious, escapist, romantic, spiritualityistic part of us is also extremely deeply motivated and is just as strongly in play. So these two things, are both happening, and I don't know. There's probably some discomforts. Like on the one hand, we all want to be gainfully employed so that we can reach our goals, but on the other hand, we want to just, take some time to maybe like fellowship with people who are like-minded and think and talk about things that are interesting to us. So that's kind of the strangeness that is happening, and Aries, I find, always brings an element of struggle and strife. Yeah, he's a fighter, and just he just always will do that. Even it's good or bad. There's a fight to it. So there's a fight to this. There's a fight to this conjunction. There's a fight to this attempt to um, for these two aspects of us, our structured self and our romantic, escapist, unconscious, spiritualistic self, trying to work together right now. They also are doing this in a kind of fight. In October, I think we'll feel a little softer again because Saturn and Neptune, they're still going to be working things out, structure and the deep unconscious that has no words, it's where words come from, that has no names, that has no form, it's where forms come from, are still going to be working together, but they'll be doing it in Pisces, so they'll be doing it with the influence of, you know, the world religions and all of the energies and the energy and power that um, that really motivates and kind of instigates those world religions, Pisces. And yeah, and then that will be nicer, I think. Um, and then we'll be dealing with something else in January, and then yeah, we'll get to that when it happens. So yeah, if you're feeling weird, yeah, everybody is, and kind of will be. Um, there's just this feeling of not knowing, what to trust, and just knowing it's perhaps not possible to know, and also knowing that, there is this like creative, um, infinite sort of possibility, of the universe, but also knowing you got to nail something down so that you have something. Otherwise, what you'll have is the nothing. The you'll have nothing. I forget the context, but oh yeah, no, I remember the context. Can't share it though. But I was telling someone how as a youth, I remember being this phrase that they would tell us in school, that to fail to plan is to plan to fail, and that's kind of like us. That's a very Saturn and Aries message, right? But at the same time, um, there's also the Neptune and Aries message, and we're hearing both of them, right? These outer planets, well, all the planets. It's about the music, the energetic theme. So Neptune and Aries, I would interpret as, you have to dig deep. You have to like really know what you want, and try to explore the infinite, conscious mind that you belong to, going all the way down into the deep unconscious mind that links you to all of consciousness. You also, that is also being, um, that music is also playing very loudly in all of our minds. So I think that maybe, part of some of the discomfort people are feeling, that, and also it is July, right? So July 21st, we're just finally getting out of Cancer season. Um, Always like overly emotional for my taste. Um, and like a different type of, everyone likes emotions, but I find that Cancer emotions is just really needy. So we're leaving that into the into Leo, and we'll really start to feel Leo. Actually, everything is emotional. I like Leo better. Not, you know what? Not that I don't like Cancer people. I love them. They're so giving. They're so soft. But the Cancer energy, I find just makes me feel needy. Makes everybody around me kind of needy. And cancers themselves are not necessarily needy. I think I've seen them do that to their partners, but I've never dated a cancer, so not my problem. But yeah, we're leaving that to the more Leo energy, where all of us are going to be feeling, a lot more independent, but still like, very. It's still kind of a collectivist energy. It's a fire energy, and it's warm and happy and, expressive, but very gently expressive. I look forward to having talks with you guys about Leo, over the next month, because Leo, I feel, is one of those signs that, I often, hear, misinterpreted. Actually, I think it's really rare. And so, of course, this is just my opinion, how I am interpreting, um, things. And astrology being such an age old science, there's so many sources, so many schools of thought that you can use to interpret what, just in my view, essentially is the interconnectedness of the cosmos. Anyways, Leo, I rarely hear, described in its truthfulness, and I say that having a good friend, a, a cousin, a beloved cousin, and a wonderful aunt who are all Leos, and they are nothing like what, some of the crazy things I hear about Leo and ego. Nope. Um, Leo, Geminis too, I think, don't deserve some of the bad rep they get. So yeah, but anyways, we're talking about Leo soon, coming up, I think tomorrow on, and, yeah, and that will be fun. It'll be fun instead of it being, it'll be fun instead of it being so like soft and, sweet and needy, and, not saying cancers are, just saying cancer energy. We're saying goodbye to that, and hello to Leo, which will, I think, give us, just the right sort of vibe, to deal with the the fact that both Saturn and Neptune are being kind of like fiery fighting, right? So that was one of the reasons why I don't see it as a dance. Both of them are in Aries right now. They're both being aggressive and they're both so different. Yeah, it'll be nice to have Leo set the tone for that.